Hi, sorry, I was waiting for the clicker. I would have yelled, but this is a really big hall. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Xin-ci. Wait, there's no slides. So in the agenda, I think my name is spelled like Xin-ci. My name is Xin-ci. The organizers thought to put me in the same level as Madonna, so only my first name appears anywhere. But you guys can call me Xin-ci. So I'm here to talk to you, I'm supposed to talk to you guys about marketing challenges faced by Malaysian businesses. But I kind of decided to skew the topic a little bit and talk about marketing mistakes made by most Malaysian businesses and how you can overcome them because, well, chances are we've made those mistakes as well. But before that, a little bit about me. I started my marketing career almost by accident. And my first job in my final year of uni was ghostwriting scammy ebooks and internet marketing articles. These are actually some of the ebooks I designed and some of the ebooks that I've actually written. This was in the days of like a black hat SEO where you could scramble keywords into a million places, and that was pretty much how I started my marketing career. A couple years later, well, right after I graduated, I joined a then very little known company in KL called Mind Valley, and during that time, it was my job to sell personal growth products online. So it was e-commerce, but not traditionally retail or clothes or electronics or homes or cars. We were selling information products online to potential personal growth followers in the US. And during that time, I was masquerading as Angelique Bianca, a woman in Colorado who loved to meditate, who believed in chakras and crystals, and I would write as her all the time, but in reality, that's actually me. Right? So I've dabbled in some really, really weird shit in my internet marketing career. Shortly after that, I went on to do more information e-commerce, and I started selling pickup products online, like teaching men how to pick up women. This is actually an email autoresponder flow. I think, they have it down here too. Okay, 7 ways to deal with a woman's counter defense, and can't seem to find a single woman. So we had a 60-day, I think, autoresponder flow selling e-commerce products, selling dating products online. And then I eventually decided to use my powers for good and started co-founded a company called Watch Over Me. We were a personal safety service used by some 300,000 women all over the world at the time. But since then, I have gone a lot more legit ever since my pickup days. And today, I work at a company called StoreHub. We are a business operating system. If you guys were here during my panel earlier, we were a business operating system for retail and restaurant entrepreneurs. What our software does is that it helps brick and mortar entrepreneurs. Like if you've got a physical store, we help you digitize your operations, automate revenue generation, automate customer loyalty, and even help bring you online. Now, one of our missions, well, we have two, but the main one is to actually help brick and mortar entrepreneurs digitize and grow their businesses in an era that is particularly difficult for entrepreneurs such as yourselves. So, top 5 marketing mistakes made by Malaysian businesses and 10 ways to overcome them. Now, this is a very clickbait headline. If you saw this headline on Facebook, probably click on it. That was deliberate. Mistake number 1. The number 1 mistake you're going to make, and just now there were quite a number of questions about if you should rely on Facebook ads. I think the better question we should be asking is what aspect of Facebook ads should you and should you not rely on? And a big mistake is for businesses to depend fully on Facebook's interest targeting for advertising. And I'll elaborate on that a little bit. See, one of Facebook's biggest sells is the fact that they've got over 300 interest targeting categories on Facebook. This means you can target anyone who's interested in a BMW or cars, luxury cars. In fact, these 300 interest categories unlock thousands or even tens of thousands of actual interest and hidden interest profiles. But there are some issues with this, right? If you guys have been to facebook.com/ads/preferences, and you guys should pull out your phones and go check that out. This is mine. So I actually went and checked out why I'm being targeted by certain ads. And I clicked on a lot of things, so this is only a screenshot. Out of all of these brands from only one specific segment of my ad preferences, I actually have never interacted that, to my knowledge, with 40% of them. One of it is David Bridal, I'm not getting married. T-Mobile, I'm not American. Cambria Hotels, more T-Mobile, and Shoe Dazzle, which is an American product, American shoe e-commerce site, I think. Now, what does all this mean, and why? One of the biggest challenges with interest targeting is a huge lack of transparency. We are actually not sure, and Facebook has a bunch of videos of this, how you are categorized on Facebook. And it can be as simple as like by associations. You commented on something your friend posted, and Facebook assumes that you are then interested in the same things. This lack of transparency is really difficult because an audience of 1 million could mean that you are only relevant to 10,000 people. There are also very few localized Malaysian options. So one example is Facebook's high net worth target market, right? And that high net worth target market is based on US data, and they don't yet have sufficient localized data. Now, I might be wrong, but from some of my initial experiments, it has not proven to be very accurate. And lastly, you're at Facebook's mercy. If you guys remember last year's big Cambridge Analytica scandal, Facebook suddenly limited how much you can see on your ad manager and your audience insights. This means that Facebook will continue to shrink your visibility as an advertiser and as a business as it tries to navigate this world where privacy is really key for some of its audiences. So how do you work around that? So it's not the end of the world. I'm not saying abandon Facebook. I'm saying don't depend fully on it. So one trick we have is to qualify your audience with your ads. And I copied this from digital marketer Ryan Dice. Everybody and their grandmother knows Tiger Woods if you're selling golf fashion, I don't know, golf clubs. Everyone knows Tiger Woods. My mom would probably like Tiger Woods as a page, but she's completely irrelevant as an audience. Some people would know Phil Mickelson. I do because my dad's a golfer, but that does not mean I am a golfer. But how many people would know, how many people would know Bubba Watson? How many of you know Bubba Watson? Okay, I count like one person in this room. Exactly. Only avid golfers would know who Bubba Watson is. Now, how we do that at StoreHub, and as you all know, if you're a B2B business, you know that you can't exactly effectively target businesses in interest targeting on Facebook. So what we do is we qualify with our ads. All of our ads basically highlight small business owner. If you're not a small business owner, you would totally overlook this and not even bother. But POS system, if you didn't have a brick and mortar store, this would be alien to you and you wouldn't bother clicking on it or interacting with it. And I'm not sure if you can see this, but this Wasi Jeremy one is take orders using pen and paper. Now, this would only apply to businesses with cafes, restaurants, F&B businesses. So we use our ads to qualify our audiences further. What you want to do is to focus on pains and objections that are faced by your customers, and you want to use that in the first frame of a graphic or a video to call out your customers specifically. If you're targeting home buyers, that's what you want to be calling out. Are you looking for a home? Are you looking for a new place to live? Now, those are very simple examples, but you kind of get my gist. Second trick is to create your own audiences, actually, and you can do that with content. Now, one of the things we do here is when you learn marketing and performance marketing, everyone tells you go straight for the conversions. And that is true, you really should. But if your audiences are not as distinct and not as clear, you can't do it simply with interest targeting. What you want to do is create a top layer of qualifying content. And your objective for that would be views, video views, or traffic. What's the purpose here? The purpose is to drive people, drive only interested people. One example, we actually have stage 1 That is content that only small business owners would bother watching, bother clicking, or bother reading through. And it can be as simple as, how do you file your taxes, your cafe taxes, right? What we do then is we retarget people who download that ebook, read that blog post, or watch 25% of that video, and send them to our product ads, which are traffic and conversion focused, or conversion focused. And then, as usual, the standard remarketing after that. So we actually use content to qualify audiences, and this way it doesn't matter that our ad is being seen by millions of people. It's only going to be engaged with by our highest intent audience. Trick number 3, exclude irrelevant audiences. Now, so I run digital marketing classes at Next Academy, and one of the key things that everyone always says is that, got a lot of likes from India and Indonesia and Nepal. Facebook cheating me, is it? Sounds like they are. But actually, what everyone forgets is there are 1.8 million registered foreign workers here in Malaysia. And that's registered. You probably want to triple this number if you're going to include unregistered foreign workers. And where are they from? India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Indonesia. A lot of those clicks could also come from them. I'm not saying click farms don't exist, they do. But there are many clicks that could come from there. So what do? We exclude with brands, such as like big brands in Nepal, telco companies in Nepal and Bangladesh and Indonesia. Now, I take no credit for this trick. One of the guys in my team actually came up with this. But it is a really easy, you cannot exclude them 100%. But you can at least exclude a good 80% of the audience. And this is like a slight segue, that's why it's a 1.5. One of the biggest challenges that we always hear, and the mistakes people make is, I'm a B2B business, I shouldn't be marketing on Facebook, I should only market on LinkedIn. But we live in Southeast Asia, where the majority of business owners, especially small business owners, are not on LinkedIn, and they're definitely not active on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is pretty expensive to advertise on. But everybody's on Facebook. Everyone, their grandmother and their dog is on Facebook. So what you want to do is that, remember this, that businesses are still made up of human beings. They're still people. They have hopes, dreams, desires, the same ones as you if you're going to buy a frying pan on Lazada. They still buy online. They still engage with content. And we always have to remember that. How do you target businesses on Facebook or on any B2C channel, really? Everything I just said earlier, it all kind of works. Test, and you'll figure it out. So, big mistake number 2 is forgetting that Malaysia is freaking diverse. Now, we know that, but for some reason, it's not reflected in our marketing campaigns. We've got so many segments of customers. I'm only pointing out two major categories here. Urban, like KL, versus suburban, like greater KL, versus rural. Okay, I wanted to think of a kampong name, and I couldn't come up with one. But you get my drift, right? The demographic in KL, the demographic in Penang is vastly different. And then you've also got language. You've got Malay-speaking audiences, Chinese-speaking audiences, English-speaking audiences. And you know what? They don't always... It's not a Venn diagram. Not a lot of people speak both languages. There's a huge segment of the market of Malay-speaking Malaysians who are not English fluent, English-speaking audiences who are not Chinese fluent, vice versa. So what you want to be able to do is to hyper-localize your ads and your content. Now, this sounds really, really, really annoying, but that is the reality of being in Malaysia, and a further reality of being in Southeast Asia. This is the same ad in Malaysia for the Chinese audience, the English audience, and the Malay audience. Similar messaging, just different languages. Similar graphics as well. We live in an age of hyper-locality and very, very deep personalization. If an ad doesn't speak to me, I'm not going to click. And that ad needs to speak to me in terms of language that I speak, the pains that I face, the objections that I have in my mind, my hopes and my dreams. And that is what we have to do as marketers and as businesses. Mistake number 4, no data reconciliation across platforms. Now, for any of you who run ads on more than one platform, you will know this. Facebook's data sits in one silo. Google's data sits silo number 2. And if you use LinkedIn or whatever, it sits in another silo. And then you've got your database. They all don't talk to each other. So what do? Now, there are a lot of fancy tools that solve this problem, but most of them are pretty expensive. And from my understanding, everyone here, like StoreHub, we're smaller businesses, and we don't really want to splurge thousands of dollars a year on a database. So, our trick is, it's not sexy at all. Google Sheets is your best friend. Google Sheets is, okay, so I blurred out some numbers here, but these are actual reporting structures we've created on Google Sheets. Now, they're not fully automated now, but there's a really great tool called Supermetrics that if you kind of connect your Facebook account and your Google account to it, it can automatically populate your Google Sheets with data. All you have to do is create that single source of truth, which is your database of customers and purchases, and accept that there will be discrepancies and differences. You just want to make sure that those discrepancies aren't freaking huge as they trend over time. But yeah, Google Sheets is your BFF. And the only way to do that well is to have consistent campaign naming conventions. When I used to consult, I would go into a client's Google campaign manager or ad manager, and their ad would be like, oh, ad 1, Malaysia. Ad 2, Malaysia. I would want to shoot myself. But if you're talking about reporting, you have to be able to segment your campaigns properly, and the only way you're going to do that is with strong naming conventions. This means if you're doing multiple countries, adding countries to your naming conventions, adding regions if you're targeting regions, audiences, lookalike audiences versus engagers versus cold audiences, top funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel. So at a glance, you know which campaign is targeting which audience and which segment of your funnel. Now, someone way smarter than this figured this out many years ago, and I just adapted it over time. His name is Emilian, and if you guys ever see him, you can say hi, and lots of people are using this naming convention. The last big mistake is not starting with the end in mind. And that happens on 2 levels. Earlier, someone asked, which is the best Facebook marketing? Should I rely on Facebook marketing? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do e-commerce? I think the question you have to ask yourself is, who's your ultimate customer? What kind of business are you building? Are you building a lifestyle business that you can afford to grow slowly on? Are you building a venture-backed business where you hope to IPO one day, or a venture-backed business where you hope to exit and sell to someone one day? All this dictates your marketing strategy. What's your funding situation? Are you getting money out of your own pocket? Are you actually spending venture money? All this dictates your marketing strategy, guys. There is no one size that fits all, but knowing all of these things helps you craft your strategy and your marketing plan. But the other part where people often forget is, sorry, I realize I'm still chewing gum. The other part that people often forget is, once you've acquired a customer, then what? Everyone is so worried about driving sales, driving new customers, driving leads, that few of us stop to think about what happens after you've gotten a lead, after you've gotten a customer. And they end up building marketing funnels with a ton of leaky pipes. So one really easy way to do that is to actually build marketing into your product, so that every dollar you spend acquiring a customer makes you more money over time. Implement viral loops. If you're not sure what that is, go and Google that. Referral programs, where a customer can refer another friend. Or abandoned cart emails, for those of you with retail e-commerce stores. These need to be built into your product from day one, not when you have 10,000 customers and time to invest, which is something I also often hear, but from day one. This way you're not leaking dollars, you're not leaking leads. Trick number 2 is to remarket to everyone. Remarket to people who visited your site and not bought. Remarket to people who've engaged with your social media content and not done anything else. Remarket to your own customers. You want to increase the lifetime value, increase the conversion over time. Why? Because it is way cheaper to market to someone who's already engaged with your product, who already knows your brand, than collect a whole legion of brand new customers. And for those of you who run retail e-commerce stores, dynamic product advertising is your best friend. And if you're not sure what that is, it's those Zalora ads or Lazada ads that follow you around after you've clicked on 1 or 2 products forever. Number 3 is you have to remember to invest in a long-term strategy. I think I said earlier that that you should never depend on only one channel, and that is true. Never depend on only Facebook ads, never depend on only social media marketing. You want to also depend on SEO, and SEO is tough, but if you invest in it from day one, you will have a chance of succeeding in a couple of months. Content marketing, because we live in an era where we have to drive value to our customers, and not just our customers, our leads too. It's a really noisy place in the internet. Everyone is telling you, buy this, buy now. Lazada has millions to spend, but not all of them are bothering with creating relationships with their customers and delivering value to their leads and their customers. This is where direct-to-consumer e-commerce businesses could really, really succeed. And lastly, email drip campaigns and newsletters. Now, everyone's like, email's dying. Yeah, email is not that great, but it's practically free. MailChimp is practically free. So just do it anyway. What's the harm? You set it up once, you forget about it for a while. Drip campaigns. And drip campaigns are the cornerstone of pretty much every info product that's still on the internet. And if you're not sure what to do with drip campaigns, this one's a little bit more difficult. Set up chatbots. Set up WhatsApp drip campaigns. Set up communities. Work on Telegram. Lastly, before we get to Q&A, because I realize time's running out, this is my mantra for life and marketing. You want to have strong opinions, but make sure they're weakly held. Because for everything I mentioned earlier, it could die tomorrow. All of these things could just fail completely tomorrow. And thank you. Go forth and multiply your customers.
Thank you, Xin-ci. All right, let's have like 1 or 2 questions. We have time for that. So the first is, do you think influencer marketing is effective, and do you see the future of influencer marketing?
Okay, good question. I personally am not a huge believer in influencer marketing. A big part of it is because very little ROI for small businesses. I don't see why we should spend a shit ton of money on an influencer and you don't really know what the ROI is. If you have a very clear way of tracking and attributing it to each influencer, then you should go ahead and do it. Otherwise, no, not really.
Okay, and the next question is it better to create 3 pages for each language or create dark post ad for each language but using the same page?
Depends. So for us, we create 3 different Facebook canvases. They're exactly the same, just translated, or 3 different landing pages. But that's because if you go to one post and you go to a landing page and it's a totally different language, it's misleading.
Okay, thank you.